Hey all you country music lovers and film buffs! Tune in and turn up the dial because we're taking a trip down memory lane with the classic biopic, Coal Miner's Daughter. Released back in the good old year of 1980, this gem dives into the life of none other than the Queen of Country herself, Loretta Lynn. Imagine this, a young girl from a dusty coal mining town in Kentucky dreaming bigger than the night sky. That's our Loretta, folks, played by the spectacular Sissy Spacek, who absolutely crushed it as Lynn, snagging herself an Oscar for Best Actress. Yup, she didn't just act, she became Loretta Lynn for crying out loud. And who could resist Tommy Lee Jones playing her charming yet tricky husband, Mooney Lynn? Plus, Beverly D'Angelo swings by as Patsy Cline, adding some sass and class to the mix. Director Michael Apted truly hit the nail on the head with a raw and real portrayal that'll tug at your heartstrings and make you tap your boots. From humble beginnings to the glitzy stage of stardom, this movie covers all the dirt roads and dazzling lights of Loretta's life. And here's a juicy little nugget for you. Did you know that Sissy Spacek belted out all those Loretta Lynn hits herself? Oh yeah, originally she was supposed to mime along to the tracks, but Loretta was like, "Honey, if you're gonna play me, you gotta sing it like me." So Sissy took the challenge head on, and boy did it pay off. So don't be a couch potato. Grab some popcorn and relive the journey of a lifetime with Coal Miner's Daughter. It's not just a film, it's a piece of musical and cinematic history. Lights, camera, action, and maybe a little sing-along for the brave. Hey, have you ever stumbled into the movie Permanent Vacation? No? Well, strap in and hold on to your hats, folks, because you're about to take a nutty ride through 1980s New York City. Directed by the cult legend Jim Jarmusch in his debut, this film is like that one loopy uncle's adventure tales. Totally out there, unexpected, and utterly gripping. Introducing Ali, portrayed by the uber-cool Chris Parker, a guy who's turned wandering into an art form. This dude zigzags through New York like a pinball, crashing into a collection of kooks that even the kookiest sitcoms couldn't dream up. Forget a walk in the park. This is a plunge into the depths of youth, alienation, and that wacky sensation of searching for your phone while it's right in your hand. Imagine a movie so stripped down, it's practically in its birthday suit. Permanent Vacation rocks a minimalist garage band style on a budget that makes other indie films look like they're dripping in diamonds. Jarmusch's passion for long stationary shots and oddball dialogue will make you feel like you're secretly listening in on the most fascinating chats in the city. The critics, oh, they couldn't agree less. Some said it meandered aimlessly, like watching grass grow, only with more pondering. Others loved the no plot, just vibes style, applauding it for capturing the raw taste of urban loneliness without driving you to binge eat ice cream and weep in the shower. Love it or loathe it, this flick is a critical slice of indie cinema pie. It's Jarmusch's rough draft, setting the stage for his later hits like Stranger Than Paradise and Down by Law. So if you're all about movies that focus more on the journey than the destination, and you're cool with a bit of cinematic drifting, take Permanent Vacation for a spin. So grab some popcorn and let's lose ourselves in New York with Ali, because honestly, who needs a map when you've got undeniable swag? Permanent Vacation was released March 7th, 1980. It holds a 55% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.1 out of 10 rating on IMDb from over 11,000 user ratings. Hey folks, have you ever seen a movie where a tough guy sailor ends up being the unexpected hero of a gritty neighborhood? No, we're not talking about Popeye. We're talking about the 1980 urban drama Defiance, directed by the one and only John Flynn. Starring Jan Michael Vincent, who plays Tommy, a merchant seaman with a knack for getting into trouble, this film tosses him not onto the high seas, but into the concrete jungle of New York City's Lower East Side. It's kinda like if you ordered a cruise vacation and ended up in a street fight. Surprise! Joining Tommy is a cast of characters that could give your eccentric Uncle Eddie a run for his money. We've got Art Carney, Teresa Saldana and Danny Aiello, rounding out a ragtag group of locals duking it out against a gang of neighbourhood bullies. It's like the old man from Up got tired of floating away on balloons and decided to fight crime instead. Sure, back in the day, Defiance didn't make waves at the box office, probably drowned out by all the other urban decay dramas and crime thrillers that were all the rage. Critics? Yeah, they weren't fans either, calling it as predictable as guessing the end of a Scooby-Doo episode. The script? Let's just say it wasn't winning any Oscars, but hey, Jan Michael Vincent and Art Carney brought their A-game, giving us some memorable performances that echo through the alleyways. So why watch Defiance? Because it's a hidden gem, a cult classic for anyone who loves a good underdog story mixed with a dash of 80s nostalgia. It's a testament to the power of community and fighting the good fight, even when the odds are as stacked against you like a Jenga tower after an espresso shot. Tune in, turn up the volume, and get ready to cheer for the little guys as they defy the odds in Defiance. Popcorn not included, but highly recommended. Keep it locked here for more blasts from the past. Defiance was released on March 14th, 1980. It holds a 52% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a better than average 6.1 out of 10 rating on IMDb. Are you ready for a blast from the past that's so 1980? It's practically vintage. Buckle up for A Small Circle of Friends. Directed by the action maestro Rob Cohen, years before he was making cars jump out of planes to bring you this little number, this film is all about love, friendship, and, well, a whole lot of student protests. Set in the swinging 60s at none other than Harvard University, watch as three students, played by the oh-so-dramatic trio of Brad Davis, Karen Allen and Jameson Parker, navigate the choppy waters of campus life. From anti-war sit-ins to awkward coffee dates, these kids have it all. And by all, we mean mostly trouble and bell-bottoms. Think your college life was tough? Try adding a dose of political upheaval into the mix. A Small Circle of Friends might not have smashed the box office, but if you've got a thing for nostalgia and debates that use words longer than your dissertation, this has got your name written all over it. From the director who eventually brought you The Fast and the Furious, yes, we're as surprised as you are, Rob Cohen swaps high-speed chases for high-stakes debates. Who knew the guy who perfected carnage on the streets could capture the intellectual chaos of the 60s? Critics were mixed like a bag of popcorn at the time. Some loved the retro vibes and heartfelt performances, while others wished it dug deeper than a freshman philosophy student after their first lecture. Either way, if you love a side of historical drama with your popcorn, or just want to see how Rob Cohen handles a film without a single explosion, A Small Circle of Friends is your ticket to ride, or should we say, protest. So grab your pals, in a small circle of course, pop some corn, and dive into this slice of 1980 cinematic pie. It might not be The Fast and the Furious, but hey, it's fast and furiously heartfelt. A Small Circle of Friends was released March 14th, 1980. It holds a dreary 26% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a slightly more forgiving 5.9 out of 10 rating on IMDb. Hey movie buffs, let's talk about a gem from down under that rocked the cinematic world, Breaker Morant. This flick hit the screens back in 1980 and is a powerful war drama directed by the legendary Bruce Beresford. Based off the 1978 play by Kenneth G. Ross, this movie takes us way back to the Second Boer War. It zeroes in on three Aussie lieutenants, Harry Breaker Morant, Peter Hancock and George Whitton. These guys find themselves in hot water, facing a court-martial for war crimes, including the killing of prisoners of war and a German missionary. The twist: they might have been just following orders from their British bosses. Edward Woodward shines as Breaker Morant, and Jack Thompson nails it as their defense attorney, Major J.F. Thomas. The flick digs deep into the messy sides of war, morality, and how sometimes the little guys get thrown under the bus to protect big interests. Now, this isn't just any wartime drama. Breaker Morant is known for throwing some serious shade at the British Empire and digs into the murky waters of war. It's not just about the actions, but the complex moral questions they bring up. The performances are top-notch. Edward Woodward totally transforms into Letty Morant, and Jack Thompson's role earned him a Best Supporting Actor award at Cannes. The direction, the storytelling, the drama. Bruce Beresford brings it all to life beautifully. The screenplay, adapted from the stage, is slick with sharp dialogue that perfectly captures the legal and emotional battles the characters go through. This earned the film an Academy Award nomination, no less. Beyond the courtroom, Breaker Morant doesn't just stay in the past. It sparked real conversations and brought fresh scrutiny to the history books. The film's impact reached all the way to the Australian legal system, stirring debates and even a petition to the British House of Commons in 2010 seeking justice for these men, long after they were gone. So if you're into movies that make you think, tug at your emotions, and challenge the status quo, give Breaker Morant a watch. It's more than just a film. It's a piece of history that keeps on giving. Don't miss out on this masterpiece that played a huge part in the Australian new wave of cinema. Let Breaker Morant take you on a ride through the complexities of war and justice. Breaker Morant was released March 15th, 1980. The film holds a perfect 100% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a stellar 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. Hey, all you interdimensional couch potatoes, we're diving headfirst into the madness that is Forbidden Zone. Directed by the one and only Richard Elfman, this 1980 musical fantasy comedy is not just a movie. It's a wild, surreal ride that'll knock your socks off and then animate them and make them dance around the room. Picture this: the Hercules family finds a portal to the sixth dimension right in their basement. Talk about home improvement gone weird, right? Frenchie Hercules, who must have been really bored or really adventurous, decides to hop in. And boom, she's in a world ruled by a king and queen who look like they've stepped right out of a carnival mirror, on acid. King Fausto and Queen Doris, played by the wonderfully weird Hervé Villechaize and Susan Tyrrell, run the show in this topsy-turvy world. And while Frenchie's having the time of her life, her family's on a mission to bring her home, sparking off a bunch of bizarre musical misadventures. Speaking of bizarre, let's talk tunes. The soundtrack, a banging set by Danny Elfman. Yeah, that Danny Elfman who went on to score about a bazillion movies and snag a Grammy. Before he was big time, he was big sound in Forbidden Zone, laying down tracks that'll make you want to dance, laugh, and maybe question your life choices, all at the same time. And don't forget, this whole shebang started with the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo. What started as a theatrical troupe morphed into the rock legends Oingo Boingo, delivering hits and high-energy concerts that kept the 80s and 90s weird, wild, and utterly unforgettable. So if you're up for a flick that's as eclectic and eccentric as they come, one that's got critics tipping their hats and scratching their heads decades later, tune in to Forbidden Zone. It's not just a movie, it's a cult classic that continues to defy the norm and dazzle the unconventional. And really, isn't life better with a bit of dazzle and defy? Catch Forbidden Zone this weekend. Because why watch something normal when you can watch something extraordinarily bizarre? Forbidden Zone was released March 21st, 1980. It holds an excellent 83% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Hey movie buffs and nostalgia junkies! Get ready to dive back into the hilarious, awkward, and oh so relatable world of summer camp with Little Darlings. It's the 1980 teen flick where high-waisted jeans meet high-stakes drama. Starring the feisty Tatum O'Neal and the ever-spunky Christy McNichol, these two teenage dynamos are anything but friends when they first meet. But hey, what better way to bond than a risque bet to see who can kiss childhood goodbye first? Yup, they're racing to lose their V-cards, and it's as cringeworthy as it sounds. Enter scene stealer Matt Dillon, the camp counsellor every girl, and maybe even a few mums, crushed on, and Armand Asante, adding just the right spice to the mix. It's a coming-of-age story with a twist, and these characters aren't just passing arts and crafts time. They're tackling the big bad world of teen sexuality without turning it into an after-school special. And let's talk tunes, because the soundtrack, absolutely killer. Blondie and Supertramp are bringing those feel-good vibes. You'll be toe-tapping and maybe even crimping your hair. Critics were mixed at first, probably had curfew issues, but Little Darlings eventually claimed its fame as a cult classic. With real talk, raw emotion, and a no-holds-barred glimpse into the roller coaster of adolescence, it's got heart, laughs, and a whole lot of cheek. Sporting a sassy 67% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.5 groovy score on IMDb, this film is more than just a keeper. It's a throwback treasure. Released way back when on March 21st, 1980, it's been making waves and capturing hearts ever since. So grab your favourite movie snack and your best throwback gear as we rewind to those awkward, jittery first love days. Little Darlings isn't just a film, it's a time capsule, baby. Experience the charm of Little Miss Marker, a 1980 American comedy film directed by Walter Bernstein. Based on Damon Runyon's 1932 story, this mostly forgotten adaptation features Walter Matthau, Tony Curtis, and introduces Sarah Stimson in her debut role. The story centres on Sorrowful Jones, a Matthau, a bookie who unexpectedly becomes a caretaker when a young girl, known only as the Kid, is left in his office as a marker for her father's bet. When her father fails to return, Jones's life takes an unexpected turn. Initially gruff and cynical, Jones's heart begins to soften under the influence of the Kid. Tony Curtis shines as a charming gangster, adding complexity and humour to the storyline. The film explores themes of redemption and the transformative power of innocence, illustrating how makeshift families can sometimes be the most impactful. Also, legendary comedian Bob Newhart plays a character simply named Regret. So there's that. Julie Andrews is the female lead in the movie but is barely mentioned in the plot. Brian Dennehy and Lee Grant pop up as well. There is plenty of star power, but the real star is legendary writer Damon Runyon. Damon Runyon was an American newspaperman and author known for his unique prose style and the vivid fictional universe he created in his short stories. Born Alfred Damon Runyon in Manhattan, Kansas, he began his career in journalism at a young age and eventually became a respected New York City newspaper reporter and columnist. Little Miss Marker received mixed reviews from critics upon its release in 1980. Critics generally praised Walter Matthau's performance, noting his adeptness at blending gruffness with a growing warmth as he interacts with the young girl, played by Sarah Stimson. However, the film's reception was not uniformly positive. Some critics felt that while the movie had its charming moments, it struggled with pacing and could be overly sentimental. Overall, while not considered a standout film of its era, Little Miss Marker has its share of fans who enjoy its heartwarming story and memorable performances. Little Miss Marker was released March 21st, 1980. The film holds a 52% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it holds a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Experience the tumultuous life of Václav Nijinsky in the 1980 film Nijinsky, a poignant drama directed by Herbert Ross. Dive deep into the story of one of the early 20th century's most extraordinary dancers, exploring his rapid rise to fame, his complex relationship with Sergei Diaghilev, played by the much-loved Alan Bates, and Nijinsky's battle with schizophrenia. Alan Bates stars as Sergei Diaghilev, the visionary behind the Ballets Russes, whose personal and professional entanglements with Nijinsky blur lines between mentorship and romance. Famed dancer George de la Peña played the title role of Nijinsky, capturing both his groundbreaking talent and tragic mental decline. The film showcases the birth of modern dance and the emotional struggles faced by its characters. While lauded for its captivating dance sequences and strong performances, Nijinsky has been critiqued for its handling of deeper themes and historical veracity. Nijinsky's daughter, Kira, was among its many detractors. She called the film vulgar and untrue. In essence, Nijinsky offers a mix of artistic brilliance and vast narrative flaws, while providing a possible snapshot of the complexities that shape the lives of its central figures in the world of dance. Nijinsky was released March 21, 1980. The film holds a 50% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a respectable 6.6 out of 10 rating from users of IMDb. The Changeling, a distinguished supernatural horror film from the year 1980, was masterfully directed by Peter Medak. This cinematic work features the esteemed George C. Scott portraying John Russell, a composer shattered by the tragic deaths of his wife and daughter. In pursuit of solace and a new beginning, Russell relocates to a secluded Victorian mansion in Seattle. However, his quest for peace is disrupted when he discovers that the mansion is haunted. The film is celebrated for its chilling atmosphere, eerie sound design, and the compelling performance delivered by Scott. The narrative focuses on Russell's meticulous investigation into the supernatural phenomena occurring within the mansion. His inquiries lead him to the heart-rending tale of a murdered child whose spirit is yet to find peace. The Changeling is acclaimed for its adept build-up of suspense and the strategic employment of horror elements, which together forge a truly terrifying experience devoid of gratuitous gore. Since its release, The Changeling has been enshrined as a classic within the realm of horror cinema. It is revered for its refined approach to storytelling and its prowess in instilling a profound sense of dread among viewers. Furthermore, its influence extends through the horror genre, inspiring an array of subsequent films. Upon its debut, The Changeling garnered predominantly favourable reviews from critics and has maintained a venerable reputation within the horror genre. It is particularly lauded for its atmospheric and psychological depth. The Changeling was released on March 28, 1980. The film holds an 85% positive critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.1 out of 10 rating from users of IMDb. Hold on to your seats, folks, because this isn't your grandma's bedtime story, unless your grandma was way cooler than we thought. Introducing the one, the only, Gilda Radner in her dazzling 1980 film debut, Gilda Live. Yes, the Queen of Comedy, the Sultan of Snickers, an original Saturday Night Live superstar lighting up the big screen. Directed by none other than Hollywood hotshot Mike Nichols, this movie takes you front row and centre to Broadway's Winter Garden Theatre, where the magic happens. Imagine being zapped into a vortex of hilarious stand-up and mind-blowing character sketches. Gilda doesn't just knock on the door of comedy, she kicks it open with high heels and a wig cap. From the supremely awkward yet lovable Rosanna Danner to the delightfully dorky Lisa Loopner, she brings all your favourites to life with a fresh, zesty twist. But wait, there's more. Strap in for an array of brand spanking new routines, cooked up exclusively for her Broadway fans. These sketches are sandwiched between musical numbers so snazzy, they'll have your toes tapping faster than you can say cheeseburger, cheeseburger, cheeseburger. Roller coaster through Gilda's world as she connects with the audience in a way only she can, making Gilda Live a landmark in her career and a big old stamp on the map of comedic excellence. Critics, yeah, they had their say. Some loved the energy, some wished for a little more consistency. But let's be real, Gilda's like that one eccentric aunt who always brings the fun. Whether the critics got on board or not, she's leaving the station with a caboose full of laughs. Fast forward to today, and Gilda Live still cracks up its cult following, proving that true comedy gold never fades. Released on March 28, 1980, this film is rocking a righteous 82% on Rotten Tomatoes and a decent 6.9 on IMDb. Hey folks, are you ready for a riotous romp back to the days when everyone was getting a little too zen and open-minded? Then buckle up for Serial, the laugh-out-loud film from 1980 that pokes fun at all the wild and wacky ways of the late 70s and early 80s. Picture this, Harvey Holroyd, played by the hilarious Martin Mull, is your average bewildered dude trying to navigate through the kale-infused, therapy-obsessed jungle of Marin County, California. His life turns into a circus show as his wife, played by the fabulous Tuesday Weld, dives headfirst into every new age fad that comes their way. From open marriages to weird parenting tips. It's a roller coaster ride of hilarity and eye-rolling moments. Now, if you thought your yoga teacher was a bit too much, wait till you see the cast of Serial. It's a wild critique of the time, filled with self-help gurus and sexual politics that'll have you chuckling and cringing in equal measure. Critics couldn't decide if they loved its sharp wit or if it was just poking too much fun at their bell-bottoms and peace signs. But one thing's for sure, Serial perfectly captures the zany spirit of its time, making it a must-watch for anyone who wants to travel back in time or just needs a good laugh at how bizarre the good old days were. And hey, tune your ears to the soundtrack too. It's got Gone Riding by none other than Chris Isaak. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Wicked Game himself, way before he became a star. So grab your popcorn and a sense of humour, and let's get serial about Serial. It's perfect for a throwback night out. Come for the comedy, stay for the nostalgia. And remember, it's only weird if you don't laugh. Serial was released March 28, 1980. The film holds a 60% positive critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.5 out of 10 score from users on IMDb. Are you ready for a wild ride back to the Old West? Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to hit the dusty trails with Tom Horn, the 1980 flick that stars the legendary Steve McQueen in one of his last roles. And boy, does he go out with a bang, and not just from his rifle. Tom Horn isn't just your grandma's typical Western. This film dives deep into the life of a real-life cowboy, scout during the Apache Wars, and occasional hired gunman for those not-so-friendly Wyoming cattle ranchers. Directed by William Wyatt, this movie slaps you with gritty realism and a dose of McQueen's brooding good looks and sharpshooting prowess. Think less singing cowboys and more. What the heck just happened in the high plains? Critics, yeah, they had a love-hate relationship with this cinematic gem. While they tipped their hats to the nail-biting portrayal of Horn's controversial execution for, let's say, a regrettable whoopsie involving a young boy, they also wagged their fingers at the film's snail pace and a somewhat foggy storyline. They wanted high noon shootouts, but got a thinker's drama instead. But hey, can't win 'em all, partner. And let's talk historical meat and potatoes. The film doesn't skimp on the real-deal details of Horn's life. From his stint as a range detective stopping cattle thieves to his scandal-ridden trial and debatable curtain call, Tom Horn wrangles with the big questions about justice and morality on the frontier. While it might not have lasted a spot as a classic shoot-'em-up western, Tom Horn gives you a gritty slice of American history with a side of McQueen cool. Released back on March 28, 1980, this movie's got a 71% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a respectable 6.8 on IMDb. Hey movie maniacs and connoisseurs of chaos, ready for a blast from the past that'll make your popcorn pop? Strap in for When Time Ran Out. The disaster flick that's so wonderfully wacky, it's like watching a soap opera in a volcano. Directed by James Goldstone and released back when disco was in its dying days, we're talking 1980 folks, this gem features the creme de la creme of Hollywood. Paul Newman, Jacqueline Bisset, and William Holden, just to name drop a few. So here's the 411. Picture yourself kicking back at a swanky tropical island resort. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, hold on to your pina coladas because there's a volcano on the verge of going K-boom. Despite a geeky scientist's dire warnings, the resort's money-hungry developer brushes it off. Bad move, buddy. Spoiler alert, Mount Explosion has entered the chat, and it's not here to make friends. Cue the panic and the drama and the oh-so-delicious mayhem. Originally, the brains behind this cinematic extravaganza hoped to ride the tidal wave of 70s disaster flick success. You know, like The Poseidon Adventure and The Towering Inferno, also starring Mr. Newman. Unfortunately, this baby kinda belly-flopped at the box office, raking in a mere $3.7 million against a beefy $20 million budget. Talk about a financial faceplant. Yep, this was another roller coaster ride from Irwin Allen, the king of disaster himself, and with his bombs, The Swarm, and his Poseidon Adventure sequel, When Time Ran Out, was a fitting title for Allen's professional downfall. Time ran out on his time as a top producer. So, if you're down for a little retro roller coaster ride full of fabulous 80s flair and fiery fiascos, pop When Time Ran Out into your VCR. Kick back, crank up the disco tunes, and enjoy the chaos. It's a hilariously hot mess that's so bad it's fun. When Time Ran Out was released on March 28, 1980. It holds a dreaded 0 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 4.5 out of 10 rating on IMDb. Ready to rewind back to the 1980s for a truly forgotten film? Let's talk about the quirky flick Nothing Personal, featuring the charismatic Suzanne Summers and the ever-versatile Donald Sutherland, along with Lawrence Dane. This 1980 comedy film aimed for laughs and romance and got tears and jeers. Picture this, Suzanne Summers is a fierce environmentalist, all in to save those endangered species. Then enter Donald Sutherland, a businessman with his eyes on the bottom line. They're like oil and water, but guess what? Fate throws them together, and what unfolds is a roller coaster of mishaps, misunderstandings, and might we say, a bit of romance. Nothing Personal arrived during the height of Summers' fame, thanks to Three's Company, leading many to talk more about her bubbly TV persona than her character in Nothing Personal. Most critics simply could not get over Summers' perky good looks. Critics? They had very few nice things to say about Nothing Personal, decrying the lack of chemistry between Summers and co-star Donald Sutherland, and the strict adherence to the dull tropes of romantic comedy. Oh, and here's a fun tidbit. Before they settled on Nothing Personal, the film was almost called Animal, a shout-out to its eco-friendly plot. They switched it up to maybe draw in fans of comedy and romance a bit more. Nothing Personal has mostly fallen into obscurity since its release, with it being barely a footnote in the legendary career of Donald Sutherland and a low point in the career of Suzanne Summers, whose legacy is far more kindly remembered on the television screen. That, and with her exercise equipment, who could ever forget the Thigh Master? Nothing Personal was released on March 28, 1980. The film holds a 50% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, with 0 critics even bothering to write about it. Users on IMDb rate the movie a 4.5 out of 10. If you are curious about this deeply forgotten flick, it is streaming on the Roku channel.